Hello, heretics. This is Lilith. I'm here with Renee, and we are Veritas Voices. I hope you're all doing well this week. What can I say? It's been another stressful week with staying inside and everything. Such is life. But we still have our tweets from Batshit Believers for you. So I have to say, though, we have something exciting. This should have been in last week's episode, but we didn't see the permission in time. Dr. Scotty at Sunmont on Twitter sent us in, I guess you'd say it's our first fan art, which is really awesome. Our last series of tweets, we talked about one from Timothy Keller, where he talked about Jesus with, instead of the love-hate tattoos, love hell. Yeah. With, I don't know if it's intended to be cape fear of God or like carpe diem, fear of God, cape fear of God, or I feel like I'm missing a Latin reference here. But what do you think, Renee?
I mean, I think it looks awesome. Jesus looks also kind of evil, which he, if you read the Bible properly, kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I dig the tattoo. I dig the demonic eyes, and I'm also kind of feeling proud of us a bit, because I think that if people draw fan arts for us, I feel kind of famous. I don't know how to say it, but
I know, I feel so special. I'm like, yay! Thank you, Dr. Scotty. And I love that he replaced the word hate in the typical knuckle tattoos with the word hell, because that really is, hell is hate. It's the amount of years I spent trying to contrive ways in which hell could be love. I don't, it's very, very convoluted.
Yeah. One thing which I gotta say is that while we don't have the greatest numbers of subscribers ever, like we are not on Pelagia level or something like that, we definitely do have appreciation of our subscribers, and I'm glad that people enjoy our show and respect us.
Absolutely. We love our people. We love those who are able to make it out for premieres and stay in the chat. And we love those who watch later, because, hey, you know what? That's what YouTube is for. Back in my day, we just watched them whenever. But stuff like this is really awesome, and it just warms the heart. So thank you again, Dr. Scotty. This is so cool. We will keep it forever.
Yeah.
Digitally, at least. But I in keeping with having a little bit of a light-hearted beginning, yeah. So I wanted to include this tweet by Via LeBlanca, the co-host of Talk Heathen and Secular Sexuality. And it's just, it's so funny. It's baptism in the time of COVID.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I mean, on an ideological level, of course, I object to infants being indoctrinated into churches and such, but this is so funny. Oh my goodness. You've got the man in his robes with the neck drapes and a mask shooting a baby with holy water at 6 feet. It's like, I hope his aim is good. I don't even... What if he hits the mom?
Yeah, well, I guess then that mom will get a little bit of a baptism herself. It's, yeah. But I'm at least glad that this person takes coronavirus seriously. And I mean, if you have to do baptism, then hey, at least it's creative.
It is that. I think it was Colonel Ingersoll that said, baptism with soap on occasion is a good idea. In this instance, I will say this for the Catholic Church, frequently as I criticize them, and justly, they have taken coronavirus seriously and are not trying to kill their constituents. So yay. This is, I must say, the most creative form of baptism I think I've ever seen. So, good job. How do you, does he practice? Does he have a target in his office and he stands a certain feet back and shoots the, he must practice. That is really funny.
Yeah. I also wonder why he only has like such a small water gun. I mean, there are sort of other water guns out there that would be
you think it's Super Soaker?
Yeah, something like
At
that.
least you would get the baby. Actually, that's Baptists should use that, because that's the thing. The Catholics will sprinkle, but the Baptists want you holding your breath. So maybe they could use Super Soaker baptisms. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Good job, Renee. Send that to the conference.
Yeah.
But alas, all things must come to an end, or at least come to the depressing part of tweets from batshit believers, which are the actual tweets from the actual batshit believers.
Yeah.
Renee found one from Sygart, which says, when the desperate, drug-addicted, convicted felon sees a vision of Jesus Christ and is saved from suicide, he doesn't question the authenticity of the actual date and authorship of the Gospel of Mark. He changes his life and follows the living God. Now, what do you think when you hear that?
I'm thinking that what he's admitting to basically is what I've been, or what I and you and many others have been saying all along. It's not about data. It's about the witness of the Holy Spirit inside their heart. It's about a feeling that they have. It's about visions, about hearing voices, about feeling something inside your heart or inside your tummy. And that's what they base their beliefs on. And that's, to my mind, not reasonable. Not at all.
It isn't. That being said, like, testimonies like that were lauded in Christian circles. Absolutely. People are, telling stories all the time about their experience. And the changed lives argument is one that's used frequently, but they're really, really resistant to having it pointed out that changed lives doesn't actually mean the idea is true.
Yeah. If anything, like the changed lives argument or anything like that, it gives me more reason to assume that it's false, because again, if we look towards Muslims, if we look towards Hindus, if we look towards atheists, people change their lives all the time and are brought out of whatever situation they're in all the time. And
it could be an argument for the sincerity of belief. Certainly. But if you received a call that said that one of your close family members had been abducted and was being held for ransom, even if it wasn't true, even if it wasn't at all true and the person was just being an absolutely horrible human being and messing with you, then your life would change in that instant. Everything would be different, and yet that doesn't make the call true. It's the appeal to emotion is one of the reasons why the religious prey on the vulnerable. They prey on those who have undergone a recent tragedy, who are lonely, who are poor, who are downtrodden, who are tired. And, if you're poor and exhausted and working 3 jobs and your nutrition is probably not what it should be because you don't have time or resources to make healthy meals, you know what? Your rational thinking isn't going to be tip-top anyway, never mind if you've had some sort of tragedy or something that makes you a little bit depressed. Can't imagine why. And so you make excellent prey for scam artists. And I would unequivocally put missionaries among them.
Yeah. I mean, what I've heard was, and this is purely anecdotal, may or may not be true, but what I've heard was a girl said within an article that she, when she was still a Christian, she had an atheist friend, sort of, and she wanted to convert that atheist friend to Christianity, and then she approached sort of an apologist, an evangelist, and asked that evangelist, how can I go about this? What shall I do? How can I bring my friend to Christ so that my friend doesn't perish? And what that evangelist said was, wait for tragedy to happen to her and then preach the gospel of Christ to her, because then she will need hope, and that hope she will then find in Jesus.
Oh.
And that is telling.
That is so telling. And I remember having that preached, that idea that God would soften people's hearts. There's all of Amos 4, if you read it, it's like a wife beater's manifesto. You know, I give you famine and plagues, and yet you don't return to me. I let your enemies triumph over you, and yet you don't return to me. It's literally an entire chapter of God going, I keep beating you, why don't you love me?
Yeah.
It's like, seriously? It's so toxic and abusive, and it's so wrong to take advantage of people.
Yeah.
In those positions. But the twisted narrative is, well, something you found a really, really good example of in this fellow Matt Smethurst. Am I saying that right?
You're the native English speaker. I have no idea.
That's not a native English name, I don't think.
Let's just go with Matt Smethurst. He had the following to say: "World, you're awesome." So the world preaches sort of the message that you're an awesome person. Satan then preaches the message, "You're awful," and Christ, meaning Jesus, preaches the message, "You're mine." Well, I personally would prefer the world, because hearing somebody saying "You're mine" as somebody saying "You're in my possession, you belong to me, you will have to stay with me, and you are now my property," that doesn't go over too well with me.
Yeah, objecting to being property as a human being is something a lot of religions seem to have problems with, and I'm going, yes, slavery is bad. We figured this one out, people. The jury is in. It's bad. Somehow, you know, and I have to say, that was the part that jumped out to you. The part that jumped out to me was Satan's "you're awful." And of course, the poor fellow down below who comments, I almost feel like Satan says all three of these things. But I've never heard "you're awful" from Satan. I've never heard anything from Satan, but even in the ideas of Satan or the bits where Satan is supposed to be saying something in the Bible, like that time he says that all your righteousness are as filthy rags, and there is none who does good, and no one is worthy, and you're all, oh, wait, that was God.
Yeah.
Never mind. Sorry, go about your business. Like, it's God who is everlastingly saying, you're an awful, terrible person, and I, out of my great mercy, I won't burn you for all eternity, but it's only because I'm so good. You're still scum and deserve it. Yeah. Like, seriously? Gee, thanks.
I get it at all, but sort of when I read the line of Christ saying "You're mine," I cannot help but think of a rapist or a predator who is going after women and says, "Well, you belong to me, and you are now my property. Now bow down to me and do what I say."
You're right.
The mental image that gets invoked when I hear these kind of words, like almost obsessed, sort of possessive, like,
yeah.
I don't.
No, it's a very good point, and I'm glad you made it, because it's very apt. Rape is a crime of power, not of sex, and so that comparison is very, very apt. And it's the sense of entitlement of one person feeling that they are entitled to another, to control another, to speak for another, to demand that a person should act in the ways and want the things that they say they should. I mean, that's the root of all abuse. The idea of people as property. And it's insidious, and it's so blatant here. It's so blatant.
I mean, that's, I think, where the sort of abuse starts, is when you treat a different person or speak to a different person in ways that would suggest you have control over them, or you want control over them, or you want to possess them. That's
well, we all struggle with letting go of our expectations and interacting with people as they are rather than as we expected them to be. But that's part of growing up. And I just, so many times people talk about God, and I feel like saying, sounds like God needs to grow the hell up.
Yeah. I mean, as I've said many, many times, the God of the Bible is not exactly an altruist. He isn't in the business of saving souls anonymously. No, he needs the credit. He needs you to acknowledge that he did this for you. And if you don't, then he's going to punish you.
Yeah. Oh,
he needs it.
He does. Jim Jeffries, actually, if you have a chance, has a really funny comedy routine about this, about how God is the drunk guy at the party who's like, I love you and I'm not going to burn you. I want you to sing songs about me. And then who's that guy who's having too much fun singing? It's honestly, you got to watch it. It's, I don't want to do his whole shtick. I couldn't do it justice, but it's very, very funny. Yeah. And God is like an awkward, middle-aged, drunk white guy at a party being an asshole who nobody invited, but comes anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
moving on.
Yes, this next one is not a tweet technically. It was well, it's a picture of something, a letter that was sent, that someone found on there, that was taped to presumably their window or door. You can still see the tape on it. And this is why people who try and blame racism on secularism are like, I'm like, are you crazy? Have you heard anything a real racist says? And this person, it's honestly this insane diatribe. This actually, by the way, thank you, Leon sent this one in as an example of truly batshit believers. And this person is quoting all kinds of things. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense. So basically, quoting the Declaration, blah, blah, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. If you are a woman or man and was born in other country, we can see that they're not so good with the grammar when they're not cribbing notes off of Thomas Jefferson. Return, go back to your land immediately, fast, with urgency. Someone used this the thesaurus online. Yeah. If you are a woman was born in other country, takes your children with you under 21 years old, consider a bless or God of God. Bless of God. In God we trust. The principle of free government adheres to the American soil. It is bedded in it, immovable as its mountains. We the people do ordain to you to leave this house. One American white brave that serves the nation of USA is going to live here. So basically, I don't even know whether their neighbor is a citizen or an immigrant or either or both. They could be a natural born citizen, but presumably because they're a few shades darker than this individual considers polite, they think they can evict them from their home with this.
Yeah. Where do you even start with that sort of stuff? Like, yeah, I have no words for that. I mean, the this person doesn't really sound like an American at all, just judging from the language and from the grammar mistakes and that sort of stuff. But
They sound like one
yeah,
of the particularly stupid trailer trashy Americans who
yeah,
can't with the English. Maybe they were homeschooled. Religious
that
education, anyone?
stuff.
I don't know. People are sometimes a little their linguistic skills can be reduced when they're in a rage. I would guess that they were in a rage.
I mean,
That
it definitely sounds like they were in a rage with, especially with the underlinings and the bless of God, like in capital letters and that sort of stuff. So it does look ragey.
definitely ragey. I have to say, this is what terrifies me about the United States. They're so close, to me at least, and they are so crazy.
Yeah.
I know there are good people there. I know there are, but there are so many total freaking lunatics.
I mean, there are obviously good people, I think, in every country, but yeah, the USA over here in Europe is also frightening as well. I mean, if you just look at the COVID numbers, and yesterday I also read that they want to reopen casinos in Las Vegas, for instance.
Yeah, because those places are easy to clean. What?
It's the USA is a scary place to be.
Yes. Yes, it is. This is total freaking insanity. I don't know what's wrong with these people, but they are frightening. They are very, very frightening.
Speaking of frightening, there's the stupidity of the next two tweets is also quite frightening in my mind.
Yes, I think you're quite right. Oh, good Lord, it's our good old friend Jay. Please, please share with us the stupidity, Renee. I I await breathless with anticipation.
So, for our viewers who have tuned in for the first time, you will recognize the following person. He has been a frequent contributor to the last few shows, let's say.
He does have a special way of
Yeah.
yeah.
He had the following to say: atheist, talking snakes and donkeys prove the Bible false. It's ridiculous to think animals could talk. Also atheist, humans are simply apes. Apes that can talk, read, write, build cities, perform surgery, explore space, and teach others to do all of this and more. And then at the bottom, he also shared a sort of cartoon about evolution. It's sort of a CEO or head scientist for evolution, and he said, "All right, we need more evidence for evolution." Then his employees say, "Fabricate a fossil, use carbon dating," and then the person on the right-hand side says, "Reject evolution?" Question mark, and then he gets thrown out the window.
I mean, a series of statements that stupid. I gotta say, I kind of hope he drew this because I really hope there's no one else on earth that's that stupid, but I know it's not the case. Um, the idea that we would need more evidence for evolution, I we couldn't. Everything in biology, literally everything, works together seamlessly with evolution.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. I mean, I keep pointing creationists to PubMed, where they list various peer-reviewed articles that are, yeah, papers that are available for medical research. And like search evolution, you'll get over 15,000 results. People are, they're not proving evolution. They're studying minute areas of evolution because it's we're well past that. But
Yeah.
apparently,
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, because Jay also, or the cartoon also brought up fossils. Even if we didn't have any fossils at all, we would still know that evolution is true. Fossils they're fun, they're useful to see the creatures that have lived on the earth, and they're fascinating, but we don't need fossils. Fossils are just nice to have, they're bonus for us. They're sort of
absolutely. Well, I mean,
museums,
just
but don't rely.
phylogeny itself are the form and function of animals and the comparative differences between them created the sketch of a family tree before we really included the fossils. And then you get genetics, you've got the whole blueprint of how everything happened.
Yeah. And that's really where the debate lies with genetics. And genetics is, there's only one framework within biology that makes sense of genetics. That's evolution.
Evolution by natural selection and common ancestry, at least of all the eukaryotes. So it's it's a refusal to it's not just a refusal to accept reality, but a refusal to understand it. And I have to say, this one that you found from Emil Zwane, I'll just call them Easy, uh, is a perfect example of that. He's quoting Ray Comfort, an unbeliever, but I don't believe that hell is real. Ray Comfort, what you believe doesn't change reality. You can believe that the sun is square, made of ice, and comes out at night, but that doesn't make it so. And while the statement is true, I'm going, oh my God, I think my irony meter just broke.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like where comfort would deny any facts about, the Earth or the age of the Earth, the age of the sun, or any of reality at all.
Yeah,
It's
observable reality that we look at all the time. No, 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 he doesn't deny that. Oh, wait. He doesn't even accept truths about the Bible. People were pointing out to him Bible contradictions, and he's just like, no, I got the first story wrong. It's obviously this one you showed me, even though 5 minutes ago he was talking about the other story. It was the Judas thing. He ended up paying someone $100 because he bet them they couldn't find this version of the story that contradicted what he was saying right then. And it's like, Ray, you you don't even you won't even understand reality. Like you go to great lengths to not understand what's going on.
yeah,
This coming from him is
yeah. What I would simply say is great comfort, great advice, and what you said is absolutely true. But it, listen to yourself and don't deny reality. Don't just like Ray Comfort is the kind of guy that says do as I say, not as I do.
very much. I gotta say, I kind of wonder if he even could understand reality. He's been so devoted to sticking his head up his own jacksies for so long. I wonder if he even could understand it if he was willing to. Um, it's remarkable and a little bit terrifying that anyone can be this totally disassociated from everything that is real and demonstrable and exists, and yet still speaking of Ray, though, it
Yeah,
seems like Ray has been getting closer to Ken Ham. They had that conference, I believe it was last year, about how to talk to atheists about the gospel, which was remarkably lacking in any actual atheists to talk to who might, not support the narrative they were presenting about atheists, because goodness knows it's best to learn about someone from someone other than them.
But Ray Comfort was sort of sharing news from Answers in Genesis, and Answers in Genesis is obviously associated with the Creation Museum and with Ark Encounter. Like Ken Ham runs pretty much all three of those.
Yep.
And Answers in Genesis announced that Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum will reopen on the 8th of June.
The 8th of June.
Yeah.
I would like to point out that that's in Kentucky, where I believe it was week before last, we were covering headlines from hell and pointed out that they had gone to court for the right to block the governor's orders and let them go to church and cross-infect each other. And that this is June 8th, not July 8th, which means it's literally 2 weeks away from today. We're recording this on Monday, the 25th of May. It's 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
They're approaching 100,000 deaths in the United States.
I think that they may even be above that already, but I'm not sure. The official numbers say very, very close to 100,000. Others on Twitter have said it's already over 100,000, but
it's hard to tell when the administration is of the, if we didn't test as many people, we wouldn't have as many cases attitude. It's kind of ironic that they got so angry about China not being transparent when their numbers are almost as reliable.
Yeah.
Irony overload, irony overload. Yes, so Ray Comfort also wants you to go cross-infect with people at the giant boat facade of Ken Ham and go home and carry death with you.
Good. And keep in mind that the people who visit Ark Encounter, they typically come from all over America. So it's not like it's just going to stay in Kentucky. It's going to come back to...
And they're religious extremists who are the least likely to have vaccinated their children and the least likely to take any public precautions, such as wearing a mask or gloves or just generally doing anything that might result in them not killing their neighbors through infection because freedoms.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I mean, Ark Encounter, the Creation Museum, they single-handedly could cause a second wave. I'm not kidding.
No, you are completely right, and I totally agree with you. I just freaking can't believe these people sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's preferable to screaming the profanities that I would like to scream.
Yeah.
I think I just wanted to end with one that I saw today from Pastor John Hagee, Jowls himself, good old Jowls, because it's something I've heard so many times in my life, and I've seen it cause unspeakable misery. And I really, it's so horrible that they're still using this, and yet it sounds so innocuous if you don't think about it. Pastor Hagee was saying, your attitude determines your attainment of God's blessings.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that to you as someone who was never like a Christian, religious Christian, what does that sound like to you?
Well, sounds like that. It sounds like he was sort of in a way pushing the narrative that if you don't receive blessings in life, or if you don't, or if something horrible happens to you in life, then it's your fault. I mean, that's sort of the logical conclusion that would follow from this statement right there if we apply it consistently.
Victim blaming, 100%. And this is the narrative that sneaks in first to tell people that if our promises fail you, it's still your fault. because you didn't do something. There's some way that you failed, and that's why you're not receiving the blessings. And it gets combined with this desire to prove yourself to God and have God love you, because faith is the only way to make God happy. And if you don't make God happy, your life has no meaning or purpose, and you might as well kill yourself, blah, 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 blah. And it's stuff like that that makes people desperate to do something to prove their faith, which is a great example of the woman who went to church and was stopped by the news and said, "I'm covered in the blood of Jesus," as if that was somehow going to actually protect her from a real virus that exists in reality.
And that is again what we always come back to: your beliefs inform other beliefs, and they inform your actions. And when you believe what Pastor John Hagee believes, if you take his words to heart, then it will affect how you act in real life, and it will affect how you approach life, and it is almost guaranteed to cause misery and harm.
It's true. It will harm those around you, not just yourself. And it makes life miserable and horrible too. And it's ironic that we talked about Ray Comfort and Ken Ham and evolution because Jay's an idiot. But the truth of the matter is, there has never been a better example than COVID of stepping out in faith in God, failing and killing people, and evolution demonstrably working. Because COVID is evolving, and it's evolving faster the more it spreads and the more generations it has, which means it's learning to spread faster and in new ways and cause new and horrible harm. And these people who don't believe in evolution and are putting their faith in God are literally providing the means for that virus to evolve faster.
Yeah, I think that's also the general problem that I've mentioned earlier with Vegas opening up casinos and all those other things. Is they're not taking the virus seriously enough.
No, not at all.
And
Not at
there's going
all.
to be a lot more people. And not just in the USA, it will also affect other countries as well. I have no doubt about that.
Absolutely. No, you're completely right. And it's selfish to pretend it's only going to affect you. That's not how reality works. Much as we might all like it to sometimes, I would be far less upset if these people were the ones who suffered the consequences of their actions, and the rest of us got to go about our lives and not worry about the crazy. But that's not what happens. We all live here.
Yeah.
You want a reason to be moral and decent? We all live in this world.
Yeah. And there's no such thing as a private belief, and there's no such thing as a private action that doesn't affect anyone else.
Absolutely. We
It's in a vacuum, and what you do, how you behave, what you think, what you believe, it affects me and it affects us all. That's why we should hold reasonable and true beliefs.
Absolutely. And that's why lies and deceptions and religion are directly harmful to human existence and to all of our lives.
Yeah.
I want to thank our contributors today. Dr. Scotty, it's awesome for you to send that art in. Thank you, Leon, for sending that wonderful example of Christian love. Oh, American Christian love. I know this is a tough time for all of us, and we all have people, friends, and family that we're worried about. I want to thank those of you who've been listening for sticking with us and staying involved. Please reach out, find ways to connect with others. We all need company, even if we're introverts like me. So we will see you next week for Headlines from Hell. Feel free to send in submissions to Renee at Renevelation, myself at Phoenix_Lilith, and or to our account at Veritas Voices. And until then, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and reason bless.